Hello and welcome to the final update of my 2024 reading journal. My very first reading journal, and it's finally complete. I cannot believe what a year it has been with this journal. Honestly, I'm impressed I kept up with it, but I did. It looks good and it's done, and I'm ready to show you all of the different spreads, how I feel about each one, and we'll also chat about my reading stats for the year and how my reading went in general. So this was the 2024 reading journal. It is from Archer and Olive. I purchased it a few years ago, and you can see it is kind of starting to get a little dingy and looking the worse for wear. It's been through some things. I've carried it around a lot, and this peach color, it's really pretty, but it doesn't hold up well to travel. So that's something I learned. No pale colors for the reading journal next year. And before we go any further, I must apologize for my broken nails on this side. My Christmas nails this one really just didn't hold up to all of the Christmas cooking and baking, but I'm so sorry if you're one of those people that is going to be distracted by this. I will try to use my left hand as much as possible. This is just where I swatched a lip stain earlier. Not a burn, nothing to be worried about. And before we get further into this journal, please check out the description box. We have some free printables that I used for this journal linked down below, all of the supplies that I like best. And check out our channel for more reading journal content. There will be a new journal for next year, and I'm going to unbox it for you at the end of this video. So stay tuned to the end if you want to see what I will be working with for next year. And it is an upgrade. Not that I didn't love this journal, but you gotta splash out. So let's get into it. This was the first page. I never ended up adding in a title page, and I do plan to do that for my journal next year. I just jumped right into it with this reading tracker page, but it only has about 80 lines or so I ran out of space. And next year when I do this, I'm going to do it Dutch door style, so I have a lot more room and I can write every other line. I think that will look much nicer, but I do love looking back at this and seeing everything I read this year. Well, 80% of what I read this year. It looks so satisfying. All of these books written out really takes me back to each time of the year and what sort of phase I was in as I read each of these books. And I still just adore this spread. This shelfie is one of our free printables, and we have different themes for them. This is a fantasy themed tracker. We also have a romance lovers one, a plant lovers version, and a dark academia version. Next year, I'm going to expand this because it holds 50 books. So if I put one on each side of the page, it will be enough to hold 100 books, which was my reading goal this year, and I did accomplish that goal, so I'd like to have space for 100 next year as well. And I color-coded them by format. So for the first 50 books of the year, you can see there were a lot of ebooks. This year, the Kindle was my best friend. And behind this cute little door, we have my 2024 reading goals. I thought we'd just go through this together and talk about how it went. Not the best start because I did not borrow a single physical book from the library this year. Now, Libby, I am all about. I'm all over Libby. Ebooks, audiobooks from the library. Yes, I went through tons of those this year, but I never actually checked out a physical book. So maybe I will put that on my goal list for next year and see if I can't actually get my butt inside the library. Inside the public library, I should say, since I'm a librarian, but I am a middle school librarian. So I'd like to check out some books from the public library next year. I did, however, finish at least 4 series. I think I finished a lot more than that, actually. I never read a book by a local author. If you know of a North Carolina author who is really, really good that I need to check out, let me know because I still really want to do this. I will definitely be putting that on my goals for next year. Reading more from Kindle Unlimited definitely happened. Kindle Unlimited saves me probably hundreds of dollars, honestly. It's such a bargain. I think it's like $15 a month, and there are so many amazing options on Kindle Unlimited now. Now, this next one is tough. Read 2 books over 1,000 pages. I just finished Wind and Truth, the final book in the Stormlight Archives by Brandon Sanderson, and that book is like 1,600 pages. And I read 2 other books this year that were in the 900-page realm, so you could argue that it averages out to 2 books that were over 1,000 pages, but whatever. I'm not going to count it. I didn't make it, but I'm not so pressed about that one. It's whatever. Reading diverse authors and stories, that's always on my list of goals every single year. 40% of my books this year were from diverse authors telling diverse stories, and I'm happy with that number. I'd like to bump it up to 50% next year, but I think 40% is pretty good, so I'm going to give myself a check. And my original goal was to read 50 books this year. Blew that out of the water, read 100 books, no problem, no big deal. So that one I can definitely check off. Next, we have my book bingo board and the DNF graveyard. I famously DNF'd Butcher and Blackbird. I didn't even make it through like more than a chapter. It's just not for me. But I get it. I think I get it. It's just not my thing. Thorn, I'm mad at, and I will not be attempting this ever again. This book is by Intizar Kanani, and I just didn't like it at all. I made it 65% of the way in, and then something bad happened to the very best character, and it just wasn't worth reading after that. So, into the graveyard it goes. And then An Ember in the Ashes. I attempted this. I got 100 pages in, and I don't know, I wasn't connecting with it. I sort of felt like the main characters were both just sort of annoying to me. I don't know. I think if I pick this up again, I probably will like it, especially if I can get further into the series. I've heard it's one of those worth the wait type ones, but for now I'm sort of soft DNFing it. And those were the only 3 books that I DNF'd this year, so I mean, not bad. I'm pretty happy with that. And the book bingo board, we have a printable version of this linked in the description box where you can use my prompts or write your own prompts in. And I hit bingo twice, in fact. Double bingo. So what's my prize? I don't know. Books, I guess. But I'm really happy with the book bingo board. It's so cute, and it was just a fun way to look for different themes in the books I was reading. Here is my failed tournament bracket page, because one thing I know nothing about is sports. And this was supposed to be an elimination bracket, but there are way too many boxes, and I ended up like having the same book go up against each other a million times. It just didn't make any sense because I drew the boxes incorrectly. So I abandoned this, and I'm not sure if I will reattempt it next year. I feel like I will just mess it up again. But maybe if I actually look it up and do it properly, it would be kind of cool to see what book makes it all the way to the end as my favorite book of the year. But this one was a fail. And the best books of 2024. I love how this looks with all of the different covers of the 5-star reads from this year. I wrote inside each one what made me really love it. And this is so nice to look back on and just remind myself, like, I remember loving these, but opening each little book reminds me exactly what was so amazing about each one. So this spread was a total success, and I made it into 2 pages, and that still wasn't enough for how many 5-star reads I had this year. So for next year, I'm going to rethink this. Maybe I will make them a little smaller so I can fit more on 2 pages, or maybe I'll just make a 3rd page. Next, we have my series tracker. And I have honestly abandoned most of these series at this point. So next year, I will make this spread differently. I think I will not skip a space between each book so that I can condense them and fit more on the page, because there wasn't really room to add any of the new series that I broke into this year. I sort of just only had this space, and then I slowly realized that I would not be finishing some of these series, so they're just sort of taking up space. Like the War of Lost Hearts, I'm definitely never finishing that. I hated the second book after loving the first one, so that one is just kind of kaput for me. But I still intend to finish Dread Nation. In fact, it's kind of crazy that I haven't yet, because I have Deathless Divide. I need to find that and get through that immediately. That might be one of my first reads of 2025. I also abandoned this spread. I think I will do a spread like this again next year, but I will make it a little more simple, I think, because I ran out of this parchment style paper, and then I didn't want to just write in these boxes because I knew it wouldn't match. But with these year-long spreads, using a specific type of paper or color is kind of dangerous, because then if you lose it or you run out, it makes me not want to continue the spread. So this was a lesson learned, and next year I will do this a little more simply so that it's easier to keep up with. This quotes page also looked so nice. I really like how this came out. It's simple, but it's effective in my opinion. I printed out these quote bubbles, and you can find those in the printables document linked in our description box. I printed them out on sticker paper, and that made it really easy to just arrange them inside the journal. And these quotes are just, they're so different. All of them are so wildly different, but so good. Next, we have the line graph, books and pages read as compared to previous years. Next year, I'm gonna maybe do a bar graph instead, because it's kind of hard to differentiate the separate lines from one another. So that's the only thing I would change here. I think it looks so nice. I love the font that I ended up using, and I just think it looks so good. And you can really see the blue lines are 2022, then 2023 is orange, and you can see I started ramping it up. And then this year I just went crazy and read twice as many books as I normally do. It was just a great reading year. And it's fun to look at this and see like, okay, March, 11 books, that's a lot. For me, that's crazy a lot. So I'm really happy with that. And I think the spread turned out really nice. So that was all of the year-long spreads that I created. From here, it starts the monthly stat spreads. But first I'm going to jump to the back of the book, because at the beginning of the year, I started doing spreads that reviewed each and every book I was reading. Hold on, let's hold our spot here. Let's be smart. There we go. So for each book that I read, I made a little mini spread for it with my review, the format I read it in, the title, the author, the date that I finished it, all of that stuff, some thoughts. And it's so nice to be able to look back and see what I was thinking about each book as soon as I read it. Most of these spreads were created pretty soon after I finished that book. So it's cool to see what my immediate thoughts were, and it's easy to forget when you're reading 100 books a year. So something like this is really useful. However, it's really time consuming to do. The more of them I did, the more I started to dread doing them. Even though I love how they turn out, and I think they look so good. This is actually my favorite spread, the Chestnut Springs spread. I read the entire series back to back to back, and I love this spread so much. These stickers are from Etsy, and it just looks so girly and romantic. But I just started getting tired of doing these. I tried to simplify it by sticking with one format. Like I tried this sort of window box format for a while. And you can see I have several pages like that. And these stickers I made myself on Canva. I just found images that reminded me of each book and printed them on sticker paper. And like I said, I'm so proud of these and they look so good. But when I started doing them, my reading goal was 50 books, and I thought I would be doing 50 of these for the year. Then once I upped my reading goal to 100, this just became daunting, and I realized that it was holding me back from continuing with my reading journal. And what is the point of doing the reading journal if you're dreading doing it, right? Once I got these stamps, these banner stamps and the star stamps and the spicy chili pepper stamps, that did help. I really like those, and I will definitely be incorporating those in my 2025 journal in some capacity. But like I said, if you're not enjoying the journal, then why do it? So I did abandon this. I stopped doing them at about 60 books in, and I just let it let it be over. I do love these spreads and it's fun to look back on them, but I won't be doing anything nearly as time consuming for the books that I read next year. I will still write down my thoughts somewhere. I may even just stick with Goodreads and make sure that all of my thoughts are fully written out for each book that I review on Goodreads. Follow us on Goodreads, by the way. Our usernames are in the description box. So if you want to see my thoughts on each book that I'm reading, following me on Goodreads is a really good way to do that. I also use Storygraph really religiously. Hold on, my cat's got a toy. Is that your toy? So, like I was saying, I also use Storygraph religiously because I like the specific stats that Storygraph provides. But I think I'm going to do the bulk of my individual reviews on Goodreads going forward. Now, back to the monthly spreads. And there are 2 new ones that you haven't seen on the channel yet, so that will be fun. These are all different from each other, and they highlight the individual stats for each month of the year. These were my favorite spreads to do in the journal. They really gave me a chance to be creative. Each one is different, and it's really fun to look back and see my stats laid out this way. So here's the first one I ever did. It's for January. I tried this like very traditional sort of style, like it's almost like a scrapbook style that you see a lot of people doing in their reading journals. It's not really for me, but I think that this spread does look nice. I just think, it's just not really my thing, but I do think it looks cool for this page. And January was a pretty good reading month. 7 books read. I broke down my favorite book, which was Red, White, and Royal Blue. And I wrote down a comparison to previous years so I could see how my reading has improved and increased. Here is February. It's like romantic and girly, just like the books I was reading this month. This is still probably my favorite one. It's at least in the top 3. It's so elaborate. It took me so long to do, but I just love it. I tracked which days I was reading which book this month, and I just love being able to look back and see like, wow, it definitely took me a while to reread Children of Blood and Bone, but other books like Bride happened in one day, and it's just cool to look back and see that. This design I think looks so nice. And I put my stats on this page. And these graphs are from Storygraph that I just printed out and pasted into the book. And this font, I'm still impressed with myself. I can't really draw, but this font is like the best drawing that I've ever done. I'm really proud of this. Next is April, and I went for this magical theme. You can see there are a lot of metallic elements on the page, which they don't show up great on camera, but I love how they look in real life. It's so captivating. Almost every single month, fantasy was my top genre because I am just a huge fantasy lover. And at the end of the day, that's always going to be my favorite genre and the one that I gravitate to most. Here's May, another one of my favorites. I just think it looks so clean. This one was done entirely with marker and colored pencils. Other than this one stamp that I couldn't resist, I found this stamp on Etsy and it just seemed perfect for this male theme. But everything else is just pencil, markers, and colored pencils. So I think this is really accessible. Sometimes the best spreads are not the ones that you drop a bunch of money on buying stickers and crazy things to add in, washi tapes and that sort of thing. Sometimes just drawing and coloring it in can be way more effective, and I think this is a perfect example of that. June. Okay, this month I discovered pre-cut washi tape stickers, and oh my god, they are so fun. This is by far my favorite way to decorate a spread now. I just love playing with the stickers, and it feels so low stakes because if I mess up and I put a sticker in a spot that I don't like, I can just peel it up and then put it slightly somewhere else if I want. There's no pressure, and I really love that about these pre-cut stamps. I've purchased so many more since then to use in my journal for next year, and it's just fun. I just think this turned out so great. The bubble lettering looks nice, and This was a really good reading month, 8 books read. Very happy with that. And this month was mostly audiobooks, which is rare for me these days. Ebooks have been my biggest format, but June was all about the audiobooks. For July, I went with this pastel retro computer theme, and these are all stickers that I printed out and pasted into the page. I think that it needs a little something. Like, I should have made it a little busier, maybe printed out some more stickers that were smaller, but I still think, it's effective. It does the job. You can see my favorite book this month was Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir, and that was probably my favorite book of the entire year. It is so good. Just a total genre-bending, sci-fi, locked room murder mystery, lesbian necromancers craziness. Just so good. Here is August. This is my birthday month, so I had to do something special. This is a page that I cut out of cardstock, and I colored it in using my alcohol-based markers. They look like this. I have the CaliArt brand, which is really affordable on Amazon, and what I love about these is they blend so beautifully and the colors are so vibrant. The only problem is they do bleed through the page. So all of these colored elements I had to draw and color in on cardstock and then cut it out and paste it in. Since then, I have been thinking that if I wanted to use my alcohol-based markers directly in the reading journal, I could just paste together the pages directly before and after the pages I'm coloring. So if it bleeds through, it's not a problem. Especially if I'm not worried about using up every single page in the journal, which I can't imagine I would ever do, really. I guess if I use the same journal year to year, but even then, I don't think I would mind losing a few pages and pasting them together so that I could use these markers to color, because they're just so fun to color with. Here is my super cute September spread, fall themed of course, and I once again had some pre-cut washi tape stickers to decorate these pages, and I think they look really nice. The fall vibes are definitely there, but you can see this was the beginning of my reading slump. I only read 5 books in September, which is pretty low. Might have been my lowest month, but actually it was October worse. We're about to find out. And I did break the slump in October, as you can see, with 8 books read. I had an ambitious TBR of 10 books, and completing 8 out of 10 I think is very good. I'm really happy with that number. I once again used some of these witchier stickers that I got on Amazon and drew in some little stars and things that are metallic. And again, they don't show up great on camera, but they sure do look good in real life. I ended up leaving this entire page blank for notes, and I was going to write in my thoughts, and I kept putting it off, and then I realized the reason I wasn't doing it is because I don't have the best handwriting, and I felt like if I just stream of consciousness wrote everything out on this page that I was thinking about my books that month, it would just look messy and kind of rough. So I'm leaving it blank, and in the future I don't think I'll leave quite this much space for notes. You can see in September I kept a little spot for notes, and I think that's much more effective for me personally. Now, this one you had not seen yet. This is my November spread, and it's plaid themed, like flannels and coziness and all of those great fall things. I think it looks really cute. I'm really happy with it, especially the way that I did these formats and genres. I made a little chart, a little graph, and I just think it turned out so nice. It looks very clean, it's easy to read, it's not too busy, but the plaid definitely does something for me. Plaid just screams coziness. And then bringing it on home with the December spread. I'm a big Christmas girly, so I knew I wanted something loud and fun for my December spread, and this delivered. I think it looks so cute. I'm impressed with how I did this little typewriter font for December and the stats, and it was really fun drawing these cute little Christmas lights. I tried not to overthink it and just kind of let it happen organically. and not worry about everything lining up perfectly. And I actually think that makes it look better. It's more fun and festive, and it was a great reading month to round out the year. 10 books in this month, over 4,000 pages, of course, because one of those, the very last book that I read this year, was Wind and Truth by Brandon Sanderson, and that is that 1,600 page, just crazy huge book, but it needed to be because it was the end of a series, and there was a lot to wrap up. It blew me away. I'm still processing my feelings about it, if I'm honest, but it was absolutely my best book of the month and in my top 5 for the year for sure. So with that, we have gone through all of the spreads in my 2024 reading journal. I can't believe that it's over. I've been working on this all year long, and it's so fun. I don't think I've ever had a creative project that truly took me an entire year. And spending an entire year working on this was hugely rewarding. Looking back at all of the creative spreads and all of the amazing books that I read this year is so much fun and well worth all of the time and the lessons that I learned creating this very first reading journal. But with that being said, we will be upgrading for next year. Let's unbox the new reading journal. My new journal is also from Archer and Olive. I really love their paper quality and the way that their journals hold up. The one that I just showed you, even though it's starting to look scuffed up now, I think that's just due to the light color and the fact that I've owned that journal for years and been using it just as a bullet journal before I converted it to a reading journal. And look at this packaging. This is the box that they send it to you in, and it has a little pull-out drawer type thing. It looks like a book, so you can put it on your bookshelf and store it when you're finished with it. And then it just looks, it blends in perfectly and looks so classic and vintage. I love it. Now pulling out the actual journal. Look at that beauty. Oh, this is an A5 storybook journal in vintage olive, and it's the dot grid style, just like my last one. It has the band that helps you keep the journal shut. It has a spot to hold a pen, and it has the bookmark ribbons, which we'll pull out in a second. The cover has this embossed gold on this cloth texture. It feels so nice. It just feels such good quality. Here is the back. This embossing really gives me Secret Garden vibes, magical, Encyclopedia of Fairies type moment. I think it's so pretty. And it's also metallic on the inside cover. In the back, it has a pocket, so you can put stickers back there or bookmarks or whatever you need. I probably won't touch this page. I just like how clean it looks here in the beginning, but I definitely will be including a title page this year, and I cannot wait to get into this journal. I have so many ideas. I have a bunch more free printables coming your way, so stay tuned to see my 2025 reading journal setup, and I'll walk you through exactly how I set up my reading journal and how I decide what spreads to include, how to decorate, all that good stuff. That will be in its own video coming soon. Here's our adorable ampersand ribbon bookmark. This thing is just gorgeous. It's going to see a lot of use for me. And you will notice this one is an A5. Last year I had the B5, so this is a little smaller. And I think this is just a lot less intimidating than the larger size. It has less blank space to fill out, and this seems to be more of a standard size for reading journals in general. So I'm excited to see if I do prefer this to the larger size or if I end up going back after this year. All right, so please let me know what spreads you liked best out of my 2024 journal. Let me know what spreads you're including in your reading journal, or if you're planning to start a reading journal next year. And check out my video coming soon where I set up this bad boy and we get it all ready to go for the new year. I'm so excited. So that will be up soon, and thank you so much for watching. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it, leave me a comment down below, and subscribe to our channel for more reading journal content. So until our next video, see you soon.